Huh?
Hey, oh my gosh, we're back. It's so exciting. It's January, and today we're talking about something, it's a tactic really on Pinterest that I've used and I've taught on how to increase your reach. And it's such a no-brainer tactic that anyone can do who has Pinterest pins. So if you want to increase your reach, I would say you could even 5x your reach with this tactic. That, yeah, that we'll be talking about that today. And really, it's all about just making multiple pins for each piece of content that you have instead of just pinning it once or creating one pin when you first publish a new piece of content. So we're basically just talking about like how to make multiple pins
Yeah.
for one piece of content without it being the exact same pin over and over again, because there's so many great ways to diversify the way your pins show up. So, how to create 5 click-worthy pins from every piece of content. And you can really do it more than once too. You can do 5 this month, 5 next month, 5 this quarter, 5 next quarter.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. This is something that my audience actually has a lot of issues with, of like, how do I create
Shoes.
Pinterest pins that are original for the same URL more than once?
Right.
And do I use the same keywords? And do I use the same templates? And.
Yep.
So I think that this is a great opportunity to kick off the new year with something that people right here in this audience often
Yeah.
struggle with. So let's chat about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that because I think that what can come up in these situations is a sense of like overwhelm and decision fatigue because the answer is that you could do all those things,
Yeah.
right? It's like you could use separate templates for each of the 5 pins you're going to create today for the same blog post.
Mhm.
You could schedule them out over the course of a month, or you could schedule them out over the course of a quarter or 5 months.
Yeah.
You could have them be the same brand colors, or you could change the brand colors. I mean, there's a few things that we probably would say you shouldn't do, which is use the exact same image.
Yeah.
Um, and even maybe like the exact same photo in all of them and just change one color. Like we don't like that tactic.
No.
But generally speaking, there's a lot of different ways that you can choose to make 5 different unique pins for a URL. And so people sometimes I think get frustrated because it's like there's so many things they could do and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, so, you can kind of think about like what I can tell you what I do, and you can talk about what you do, and people can model after that. But remember that you can, switch that up a little bit if something works better for you or your content as well. And just don't get overwhelmed with the decision fatigue. Just choose one method and, use that method every time you go to create pins for either a new URL. I'm going to say blog post, but it doesn't have to be a blog post. It could be a landing page. Um, Yeah, so just like choose one way of doing it that diversifies those 5 pins that you're creating for one URL. Choose one scheduling cadence and just do it. Don't feel like there's a wrong or a right way to do it. There really isn't. There's a lot of right ways that you can potentially create 5 different unique URLs and
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, 5 different unique pins for one URL. Let me close out WhatsApp because it's pinging me. And like it can work multiple ways. So don't feel like there's
Yeah.
only one way it can work, but we'll give you some ideas for like some of the ways it can work so you can pick one and model after it if you want to.
Yeah, totally. The important thing here is to not get caught up in the weeds of all of these things that you hear on the internet because there's really so much nuance with everything.
Hmm.
And just because something worked for someone one time, one way, doesn't mean it's going to work for you the same exact way. So if you
Yep.
want to try that, great. If you don't want to try that, fine. Do it your way.
Yep.
Do it my way. Do it Jana's way.
Yep.
I think really what matters at the end of the day for any marketing strategy is that you're constantly moving forward and you're
Mhm.
testing new things, not constantly testing new things, but like you're testing new things occasionally and you are promoting your offers consistently.
Right.
Um, so yeah,
Right. Yeah, that's it for me. I have like a mental block. I have like a mindset issue with testing things, to be quite honest. And I know it's a unique Jana problem, although I'm sure there are other people that feel this way too, because you don't really have that mindset block. And I know like my friend Wendy doesn't, my coach doesn't. I don't like the idea of like testing things. I always want to be like, no, I'm going to do it this way for like a period of time and then maybe go back and look how it worked. But
I do
I have
that.
like this thing of like, oh my God, I don't want to be like testing. So I resonate more with the second part of what you said, which is like just constantly be promoting your offers. And
Mhm.
this tactic that we're talking about today is a way to do that, to be
Yeah.
constantly promoting your offers. Um, and I'll qualify that a little bit, but like and by constantly promoting them in different ways with slightly different language, slightly different imagery, slightly different keywords, if you want to vary those as well, um, you're giving yourself more opportunities for one of those or two or three of those to hit and become what we call on Pinterest a legacy pin. We don't say viral really on Pinterest, although I guess some people do, but
Sure.
to get a lot of like, reach and a lot of eyes on it, basically. So that's how I think about it is like constantly be promoting your things, your offers, your things, your blog posts in this case. And when you're consistently promoting your things, you're going to naturally learn what works and you're going to naturally get better reach and have things hit.
And you're going to come up with
So,
new ideas and you're going to have new aha
mhm,
moments and you're
right.
going to start to see things in different ways.
Yep.
The only reason I got good at this platform is because I was actively doing it.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep. And I think that like when I think about my strategy, like I pay a lot of attention to making sure that my content itself is really dialed in and my like that my content, my blog post, let's say in this case, because we're going to talk today about how to create like 5 pins for one URL, and let's assume it's a blog post because that's the most common thing that we're pinning.
yeah,
I mean, 5 pins for one URL, it's a blog post. I think I said that right. I feel confident because I know that the blog posts that I have are high converting and I chose the right topics for them because I have a very rigorous topic selection process.
yeah.
So I don't worry too much about whether the Pinterest pins are exactly right because I feel like as long as they're a good reflection of that blog post, which we want our pins to be a good reflection of the blog post because we want them to be like congruent with what people get when they click through,
Mhm.
then I feel pretty confident that like naturally, if I'm consistent about putting them out there, that some of them are going to hit, and they do. So
Yeah,
that's kind of like my approach to it is I like make sure the content is good, and then I don't worry too much about the pins. As long as we're following, like best pin design practices in general. And if you're using good content, like that's going to really be your best way to like get the best reach and get the best results, right? So
yeah.
anyway,
Mm.
it's a tangent. We digress a little bit.
Where to
Um,
start here?
I kind of feel like I want to review real quick, like the 3 benefits of doing this, like what we're talking about, and
Sure.
then like 3 benefits of doing it. So basically, what we're talking about is when you have a brand new blog post, or if you're going back and promoting an old blog post, because I always encourage people to go back and cycle through and promote all their old content as well. Not
Yeah.
old, but like their capsule content is what I call it. Instead of just like creating one pin for your blog post, while you're doing this, while your brain is on your blog post, while you're looking at your blog post and thinking, how can I promote this? Make 5 pins for it. And I wouldn't schedule them all in the same day. Depending on how often you're pinning things and how many other things you're pinning at the same month, I might schedule them. In my business, I would schedule 5 blog posts out for the next 5 months.
Yeah.
Sorry, 5 pins to one blog post. And I would schedule them like every 4 weeks. Or maybe you do every 2 weeks. Or if you have a much more um, like robust pinning schedule, then maybe you do one a week. That would probably be the closest that I would recommend pinning them out.
Yeah, I do one a week.
Okay. So you're doing
That's
one a week. I'm like doing one a month. That's what we're doing in our businesses, our actual businesses, but you could look at either of those as a model.
yeah. And I mean, occasionally things slip in there sooner than once a week, and that's
Hmm.
fine too. It's
Hmm.
again, there's so much nuance. The platform's not going to slap you for pinning one blog post today and then the same exact blog post on Monday.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, if you pinned it today 3 times and on Monday 3 times and then on Tuesday 3 times, like it starts to look very
Yeah.
spammy and repetitive, but there isn't really any one bright white line for what's okay and what's not okay. But we will tell you that Heather does hers once a week. She would be scheduling hers out once a week, and I would roughly, right? And if it's 6 days, like it's no, the alarms aren't going to start going off. Um, and I do mine like every 3 weeks or every 1 month. Um,
Yeah.
and you make a good point. Like I do it messy. I do it very messy. So if I have 5 pins and I design them in Canva and I download them and I upload them to later, because you can only schedule out up to 30 days in Pinterest natively. So I'll put them in later because I want to schedule them out more than 30 days from now. I'll
Yeah.
just randomly put them over the next like 5 months. I'm not like counting the days and making sure 30 days have gone by. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I definitely do it messy.
Yeah. And I think that's totally fine.
Mhm.
Um, as long as you're getting pins in your schedule, that's what I care about.
Right. Yep. Exactly. And for me, as long as you're getting pins in your schedule and like the content you're pinning is good, and I know that's, your philosophy too, like the content needs to be good. So I'd say the benefits. Number one, with more Pinterest pins, you have more opportunity for increased reach, right? It's just sort of simple math. Now, it's not as simple because it doesn't mean that if you just flood the platform and you're just going to get better results. But generally
Right.
speaking, if you're following all the best practices, your content's good, you're doing, quality pins, you're not just slapping random stuff up there. Generally, if you're pinning more, you'll get more reach. And so
Yeah.
this gives you an opportunity to create more pins without having to create 5 blog posts. You can have 5 pins without creating 5 blog posts, right? And in my
Yeah.
world, that's really important because I teach a capsule blog concept where we're not constantly putting out new content every week,
Yeah.
or every month even. We create a capsule blog library and then we cycle through promoting those key messages that are the things that your audience needs to feel ready to buy. So it's really important in my world that we have an opportunity to reshare the same content regularly in a way that's not spammy. So
Yeah.
creating multiple pins for that is really good. Benefit two, is that when you create multiple Pinterest pins for one piece of content, it gives you the opportunity to like diversify your visuals and images so that you can appeal to different people. So we'll talk about specific examples of that, but I'll give you one just to give you an idea. Like, let's say you have a pin about boosting energy, snacks that you can eat to boost energy, right?
Yeah.
Um, you could have one pin that is meant to appeal to a person who works at home and has an image of a woman on a laptop at 3 o'clock, in the afternoon. I don't know if you would literally have to have a clock in the background, but and she's feeling energetic and her whole day she feels energetic because she has these snacks to rely on during the day, right? Without having to do coffee. Meanwhile, you could have another pin that has similar language on it, but has a woman chasing around after her kids, right?
Yeah.
And or a man chasing around after his kids. But on Pinterest, we're usually we're getting in front of more women. Generally. Um,
Mhm.
so having different images that would catch the attention of someone for different reasons, because the mom wants to have the energy to run around after her kids, so she wants these snacks, versus the worker who wants to be productive in the afternoon. And by the way, that could totally be the same person, um, but it also could be different, right? So that's just a very like cliche example, if you will, just to give you an idea of what I mean by diversifying the messaging and the images, so that different people will resonate with different versions of your pin. And then the third one is that, as we kind of already alluded to, having multiple Pinterest pin images that are all very different from each other, even though they are linked to the same blog post,
Mhm.
helps you avoid looking like you're pinning the same image over and over and over again, which on your feed and just in general can be and look kind of spammy. So I would
Yeah.
say those are like the three main advantages to creating multiple pins for each piece of content instead of just creating one. Did I
Yeah.
miss anything?
No, I think those are solid.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What
Perfect.
else should we talk about here? Hmm. I'm looking at my blog
I
post.
So when it comes to pin design for me, let's say we're creating 5 different Pinterest pins.
Hmm.
One thing that I really like to do is actually look at my board strategy and create
Mm,
pins that are specific to the boards that I'm going to put them on.
smart.
You might take a look at your top boards first and pin to, create some new
Yep.
pins for those boards. If those top boards are they're in your top boards for a reason. They already have reach. They're getting engagement. The pins on those boards are getting seen. So let's feed those boards some more.
Mm,
That's just one really quick hack. And then the other boards on your profile, take a look at what hasn't been pinned to in a while. It's really difficult for
mm,
us if we have a lot of boards on our profile to keep up with all of
mhm,
them. So which boards need refreshed? Which boards could you give some more love to?
mm.
Add those in.
Yep.
But I really like to start with the board strategy and then go from there. Now you could
Yep.
do whatever you want. If you want to start with pins and just put them out, you could do that too.
Hmm.
But if you are struggling with where to put things or, what keyword should I use? Well, then let's start with your boards. That'll
Yeah.
give you a really good starting point. So for me, if I were doing my Pinterest scheduler tutorial, like review blog post, if I wanted to take those Pinterest scheduler reviews
Hmm.
and make a bunch of pins for those, I could make pins for each scheduler in the review, and then I could make a pins for the overall review as well. Um,
Yep.
and then those pins could then go on the scheduler specific boards or the Pinterest strategy boards or the Pinterest overall Pinterest schedule board have so many different ways you can slice it and dice it. So
Yep.
here's where we're telling you don't make it complicated.
Right, right. And don't feel like you have to do only one way to slice and dice it this month and the same one next month. Like you can always be creative and come up with different ways to slice and dice. So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing from you right now is kind of like two different strategies and you're kind of overlaying them, which is cool. So you can do that or you could do one or the other as well. The first one I hear you saying is that if you look at your boards, which your boards should also be aligned with like the main keywords that you want your profile and your pins ranking for, if you've done your board setup the way that I teach it and the way that you teach it. And you can say, okay, if I were creating a pin for this blog post
Yeah.
and I'm putting it on this board because I haven't pinned to it in a while and it would be a good fit for that board, what would the pin text overlay say? What keywords would be in it, right? So that would be one way to think about it. So like, I'm trying to think, I want to come up with a good example. Do you have one or do you want me to try to come up with one? We could try to use the 10 energy boosting snacks idea. So let's say you have your blog post about 10 energy boosting snacks. That's not even really a blog post I would write anymore because this is like an example from an old blog that I wrote like years ago, which I'll link in the show notes because it's still helpful. But yeah, anyway, let's just say you have that. You notice that there's a board that you have, like you already pinned that to like an energy boosting board. You already pinned it to a board about like how hormones affect energy. Maybe there's another board that you have that is like about this is a shitty example. Oh, sorry. Excuse my
Fine.
French, everyone. Oh my gosh, are we gonna get
No.
FCC fined, Heather?
No.
Okay. Is there an FCC for YouTube? Oh my God, I just swore. Happy January, everybody. Jana just dropped an S-bomb on YouTube Live. Um,
Who cares?
okay. So, okay, let's use the hormone as an example. Like, so let's say you have a board that's about like um the relationship between hormones and energy. Maybe you do create a pin that's like snacks that are hormone friendly and boost your energy because maybe now you don't want to just make that up, but if your article does actually have a little bit of a mention of that, that would be a great example of like how
Yeah.
to put an angle on a pin and then put it on that board. So that's one tactic I hear you saying, and you would probably use if you had done keyword research and found that there was a keyword that was like hormones and energy or something. I don't know if that's actually being searched, but if it is, it could be. That could be the keyword that you focus on for the text overlay, right?
Yeah.
Another thing I hear you saying, the other kind of strategy is looking at your blog post and seeing that there are multiple elements to the post and creating a pin for each element. So in your
Yeah.
example, you have a blog post that's about scheduling softwares for Pinterest, and you
Mhm.
can literally create a Pinterest pin that is like my review of, buffer for Pinterest scheduling, and that would be it. And then the next one would be like my review of later for Pinterest scheduling, my review of the native Pinterest scheduler, right? And you could do one for like each of the schedulers that you've reviewed in there. And then if you want to get fancy, you could actually pin to the jump link, but you don't have to. You don't have to be fancy. You could just pin to that, to that blog post URL. That's fine. And so you're using the same URL, but each pin is focused on one particular section of that blog post. So those
Yeah.
are like the two things I hear you saying that would be potential strategies for diversifying your pins.
Yeah. So I think those are two really great starter points.
Mhm.
Another way that you could diversify this is based on audience. So you'd already mentioned this earlier. If you're targeting women with children, or if you're targeting older women without children, or empty nesters, they don't have kids in the house anymore, you could go that route too. So for me, I have a lot of different people in my audience. I've got e-commerce sellers selling physical products. I've got
Mm,
digital product sellers. I have service providers and professionals like myself and you. I have coaches and course sellers. I kind of siphon them off from digital product sellers, but they really are selling services and digital products. But they identify themselves separately. They call themselves out. So I usually identify them, my audience, in how they would identify themselves.
mhm,
Um, so I have all of these different groups of people so I could create specific content for them. And I have over the years created, Pinterest strategy for travel bloggers, Pinterest strategy for teachers. So you could do
mhm,
the same thing as
mhm,
one of the Pinterest pin designs that you make. You can do an audience-based one. I actually have a list of, let me pull it up because when I do profile reviews,
mhm.
I specifically for food creators, there's this long list that I created of topics that you can actually um you could swipe. It's a really great
Is it like
list.
angles?
Sort of like, yeah, I guess you could call them angles. I call them descriptors,
Mm, mhm.
or I'm just gonna drop this in the YouTube chat for
Okay.
anyone. Then we have a question we should answer too.
Okay.
Um, oh, of course, it's too long.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So like cooking time, diet type, cooking method, protein. Um, is it a main course? Is it a side course? What
Mm,
ingredients included? What
mhm,
region or cuisine? Is it seasonal? Is it
mhm.
holiday? Is it
Yep.
audience? Is there a specific audience you're looking to target with this food? You could use the same exact list for other things as well.
Right, right. So you can develop your own list for your own niche. So just this is just an
Mhm.
example, right?
Yeah, so there's two
Yep.
little comments in the chat of the list of 13, and it for some reason the YouTube chat sandwiched them all together. So I apologize if they don't make a ton of sense. It's pretty much they're in between the slashes. Uh, and it's the capital letter is what starts the next one. So hopefully that makes sense. But you can also go that route. And I would encourage you to think of all the ways that your audience might be looking for you.
Mhm.
And then try to find keywords related to those things related to your one blog post, because
Yep.
this is how you're going to really spread yourself more like out and just get your net further out on Pinterest and really reach a wider audience is by getting away from that one single keyword that you keep using, which is a question in the chat.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
how I solved it asks, do all 5 pins need to have the same exact target keyword or variations in the description for SEO practice? And the answer is no. If you
Right.
wanted to create 5 pins for one blog post on how to organize your garage, we just covered a variety of different ways that you could then break that out. So you could break it out by area, you could break it out by use, you could break it out by, chemicals versus tools. There's so many different ways that you could break it up. And then you
Yep.
could have one title for each one. So if it's how to organize the sports equipment in your garage, then the keywords in that description are going to be related to that topic. Whereas if you're talking about how to organize the screw guns and the nails and things on your toolbox, then that's
Yep.
going to be a different set of keywords. They won't have the same set. So it really comes down to what you
Mhm.
put in the blog post, what's in the blog post.
Right. I was just going to say you want to obviously look at your blog post as a guide because you don't want it
Yeah.
to not have what you say it's going to have, right? Yep. Yep. Yeah, and I mean it kind of goes both ways too, in the sense that if you find a really great keyword, maybe that actually inspires you to add a new section to your blog post because blogs can be living, breathing things. You can add something if you want, but generally speaking, if you already have a pretty comprehensive blog post, the garage is a great example. You can go through and make a list of the different sort of sections and approaches and yeah, and basically create a one for each one, and then the keywords would be different for each one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is really how you attract a wider audience,
Right.
truly.
They would probably be like more long tail keywords, but maybe not. You know, it could be a situation where they actually you get more broad depending on what the section is that you're kind of using as the angle for that pin. So,
I do typically
yeah.
use mostly long tail keywords, knowing that
Yeah.
the short tail variety will get ranked eventually.
Hmm.
My eye itches. I had
Oh no.
a third coffee, Jana, and that's a
Girl, you
lot
need
of
to
coffee.
do what I do. You need to have a half calf or a decaf. If you really
That's a
wanted a
lot.
third coffee, it needs to be a half calf or a decaf.
But I want it
Um,
from the good coffee maker, okay?
oh, you have the new good coffee maker. Does it make decaf or half calf? Oh, see, I'm still like on my stupid, I use my Keurig. I'm like so basic, basic B coffee over here.
I'm like fidgeting around and like buzzing.
Oh my gosh, oh no.
It's okay.
Um, So one thing I was thinking about while you were talking about this is like a lot of my students in high leverage content notice that, well, they actually often have like archetypes as well.
Yeah.
So when you are when you have marketing archetypes, that can be another way to think about your pins. So for example, in my program, I have a lot of different ways I think about my audience, but one way I think about kind of dividing them up and speaking to them specifically is I have some people who come into my program and they have not been creating a lot of content. So because I'll back up for a second. I run high leverage content. It's a blog first marketing system where we create a capsule blog of 12 to 20 posts on your blog
We
that
love
are that are all about the things that people need to feel ready to buy your offer. And then we repurpose and leverage those posts on repeat to get clients. Those are the two parts of the program. So I have some people that come in and they come in because they're very frustrated because they're just not showing up at all. They really are very like they're not putting out a lot of content. And so they're invisible. People aren't signing up with them because nobody knows about them, even though they have a really good coaching offer, for
it.
example, or a really good service. And they're frustrated usually because there's so many things they could write content about, but they don't know if any of them are the right things, and they're afraid to put a lot of time into content because they're concerned that if they don't write about the right things, that it's going to be time wasted. And so they get in this space where they're like, well, then I'm not going to do anything. And then time goes by and they're just not putting out a lot of content and they're not marketing themselves and nobody knows about them. I also have, and sometimes I call those, I don't call them this in my content, but my coach and I call those folks the hidden hollies. And then we also have a lot of treadmill Tinas in my course as well. And these are people who have been putting out tons and tons of content. They're on the content treadmill, and none of it feels like it's working or it's not working well enough. Or even if they're making some sales, they're not making enough based on the huge amount of content that they're putting out because they're always just putting out new things, but they're not really about the right things.
Yeah.
And so I could have a blog post that's about like how to choose the next 5 topics for your blog, for example.
Yeah.
And I could write that post in a way that addresses both of those problems differently, right? And then
Hmm.
I could have pins that speak to the treadmill Tinas, like, are you spending hours every week putting out content but not seeing results from it? Here's what to do. And then I could have other pins that speak to the hidden hollies that are like, are you afraid to put out content because you don't know what to say to get clients, or you don't feel confident that you know what to say to convert, right?
Yeah.
Those could be the same blog post, but different things that I'm addressing from different perspectives in that same blog post. So that's another way you could think about diversifying is speaking to those different people in your audience. And you kind of said that a second ago, but basically I'm saying you can think of that as like archetypes inside,
Yeah.
your like who are the different kinds of people you serve. Another one for me is I have basically 3 different types of people in my program. I have coaches. I have practitioners because I serve a lot of health coaches, and a lot of those people are also or are related in some ways to my practitioners, like my chiropractors, my acupuncturists, my therapists, people who consider themselves not really coaches, but they're practitioners. And
Yeah.
then I also have service providers, mostly because that's who I was. I was a done for you service provider, and I created my system to sell my own program without having to spend my whole life on content. Um, so those are like the 3 types of people in my audience. And again, if I have a blog post about something that's relevant to all 3 of those audiences, I can create pins that speak to and speak the language of all 3 of those categories.
Yeah.
And they would all still be relevant when they hit that blog post because I've written that blog post to be relevant for all 3 of those types of people. So that's a good example of what you were saying about different types of people in your audience.
I really love that. Because those people are going to be looking for things for themselves
Mhm.
with how they, like I said earlier, with how they identify themselves.
Yep.
So, if you can target them, it's tonight.
Yep. And I like, if you think about, I don't know if I have this blog post, but let's say I have a blog post that is about how to choose high converting topics for your blog posts, right? I know that's super meta, but maybe my blog says something like, choosing topics is super important because like, and right now it might be hard for you. Maybe it's hard for you because, or like maybe right now you're struggling with it because you feel like you're putting out tons of content, but you're not sure you're choosing the right topics. Or maybe you don't know what topics to choose, so you're not putting out any content and you're hidden, right? And then I go into like a methodology for choosing topics, right? Or talking about how I help people choose topics inside of HLC or a combination of those things. That's basically how I would write that blog post if I were writing it. And now you can kind of see how, like, when someone hits that blog post from Pinterest, it's going to feel relevant to them regardless of whether they clicked from a pin that said, right now you're invisible because you don't know what topics to choose,
Yeah,
versus a pin that was like, right now you're putting out so much content, but you're not sure that the topics are right. In fact, they're probably not because they're not converting,
yeah.
right? So it's like that, I wanted to kind of say it that way so that if anyone's listening and they're like, I still don't get what you're saying, like that's how it feels relevant for both of those audiences, even though those pins were very different and even use different keywords,
Mhm.
right? Because one of the main keywords for that pin might be like, okay, now I'm stumped. It's these examples are not in my blog post, so I'm like making them up on the fly. But yeah, I mean, let's just say like one keyword is more focused on like you feel hidden versus the other keyword is more focused on like how to get off the content treadmill. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Whew.
I mean, this is this is a big reason why I cut the examples for YouTube videos while I'm outlining the video. So I'm
Oh
not
yeah. Right. And well, that's also like these live streams are live streams because they're like in the moment and people I think
there
like
in
just
the moment.
people like to see us rack our brains for like random examples and stuff and it's just a different kind of
Well,
content. So,
and you
but
guys can always throw examples in the chat too if you're watching and you're like, oh, I wonder about me. I
yeah, we
told
can give you examples for you. Yeah.
I told the chat that I was being held hostage by my youngest child. She was holding up signs and making me answer with numbers.
Oh,
So
that's hilarious. Oh my God. I wasn't looking at you. I was looking at my blog post, so I didn't
you
realize you were
see
doing
that?
that.
Being held hostage, help.
She's so cute.
Um, so she's something else. I told her to go get me some water and she came back with a marker and a pen. So maybe I should put her to work with samples.
Perfect. Yes, I love that.
No, but
Yeah, we need examples.
I think far too many people really just focus in on the nitty gritty of it all instead of just doing it, instead of just creating pins. So ask yourself, who is this serving? How does it serve them? In what ways does it serve them?
Mhm.
What keywords is this group of people versus this group of people searching for to find the same thing? And honestly, if you have trouble or you're stuck, use ChatGPT. Ask
Totally.
for help. I have the Pinbot. Get it? It's
Mm.
in my Shopify store. Get the Pinbot. It's specifically designed for Pinterest and chat with it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, definitely. Because like you could put your blog in and you could say, I need some different pin angles on this, and you could say, I
Yeah.
need some pin angles for my two different archetypes, and here they are. Or you could say, how can I, here's the text overlay on this Pinterest pin, or here's the blog post title. Give me, 10 or 20 different options that mean the same thing and don't change the meaning, but say it in a, with different words, for example.
Yeah.
And you could even say, okay, great, thanks. Give me 10 that incorporate this long tail keyword and give it the long tail keyword. So there's so many ways you can like, you don't have to rely only on your brain. As long as you're bringing the strategy to it,
Mhm.
you can definitely use AI to help. And the nice thing about the Pinbot that you have is the strategy is already baked into it. So it gives people like a leg up and they don't have to bring as much of the strategy. So the Pinbot's good. Let's put the Pinbot in the notes
Sure.
for this video. Okay.
I'm working on an exciting update for it. I'm actually nearly done, and then I'm going to film videos to go with it. But I'm creating a textbook that goes with the Pinbot, and
Oh,
it's going to have video tutorials that show you like, here's
how to
how
use
you
the bot.
use it.
Nice.
And it comes with like textbook of sorts, like a reference guide.
Love it.
So you know how to get the most out of your
Mm,
investment. So
yeah, that's great. And it also, I like that because you'll get to see examples of it working, which
yeah,
is always super helpful to like um, shorten the learning curve about how to use a tool to like see examples of how it's working. Yeah. These large language model or the is LLM, that's large language model, right?
yeah,
Tools are so interesting because they give different outputs every time. And sometimes like that, I mean, that's great. That's what we love about it, but also that can be like overwhelming sometimes because it's like,
sure.
but then when you see examples of it working multiple times with different outputs, you can start to understand what to do with the outputs and like, what kinds of outputs you're even aiming for and what kinds of inputs need to go in to get the types of outputs you want and things. So,
Yep.
all right, well, good. So yeah, overall, like the idea here is like you don't have to only create one pin for each blog post.
Nope.
We absolutely want you to pin every blog post you have multiple times. Um, that can look different depending on your strategy and your workflow.
Yeah,
When I say workflow, I mean like whenever I publish a new blog post, which is not very often, but occasionally, instead of just making one pin for it, which I usually embed in the blog post, I make 5 pins for it and I schedule them out for the next 5 months. So it gives me more chances for more reach, more keywords, more
mhm,
angles on it. And then you can also, and this is what I encourage my students to do, go back and always be cycling through creating new pins with the
mhm.
same angles or different angles, with the same images or like different images, or I don't mean exactly the same image, but like a different version of an image,
Yeah,
different text overlay. There's always ways to create multiple pins for each blog post.
yeah,
And you should be doing that because it gives you more opportunities to get better reach.
yeah. And I love being behind the scenes and doing my marketing, which is why Pinterest is so much more fun and to me interesting because I
Mm,
can sit with my iPad and watch a movie while I'm making pins. And I get to do this with client work too. Like
mm,
I get to be not in front of a camera. I don't like
yeah.
right now I've got my studio lights on because I was filming a YouTube video earlier and my desktop computer's not working right now.
Mm,
So I'm like in camera filming mode. But I don't have to have this. I don't have to have
hmm
lights blaring in my
On your face
eyeballs
and
and
yeah.
I can be a hobbit underneath a blanket on my bed if I wanted to, just like watching a
Yeah.
movie. No
Yeah.
makeup,
Yeah.
no hair. I don't have to comb my hair.
Yeah. I love that too about Pinterest. It's like cozy. It's like a cozy place to like, okay, I haven't, and I look forward to making the pins. It's just me. I
Mhm.
like doing it. So I like Canva. I try not to spend too much time in there, but I enjoy like, I'm like, oh, I have a new blog. I get to like make 5 pins for it and schedule them out. Like to me, that's fun. So, because it's
Yeah,
just like very quiet and I can brew a cup of coffee and like you said, not be on and just create stuff that is going to work for me. I like the feeling too of knowing that like these pins are going to be out there circulating for months
yeah,
and years rather than just like putting something on Instagram and knowing that, yeah, somebody will probably like it, but then it'll be gone and no one will ever see it again.
yeah. The 200 view syndrome that everyone still complains about, even though they know it's going to happen.
It is hard to break 200 with any image, or even a lot of people are having a hard time breaking 200 on Reels too, which is
Yeah,
crazy. But
yeah.
anyway,
Well, next week we're talking about whether or not you can be booked out as a service provider or a coach without social media.
good
So
transition.
we'll be picking Jana's brain for that. The answer is probably yes, because Jana wouldn't be here otherwise. She
Yeah.
sometimes uses Instagram, but honestly, it's been a lot less these days, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like social media. I'm not like a person that doesn't like it, but I
Yeah,
I do believe that social media can be optional in
yeah,
your business. And there can be different ways of looking at it. Like you can either be totally off social media. And yes, I do believe you can run a successful business that way.
Yeah,
It takes dedication to some other strategies because you always are going to need
sure.
marketing. Um, and I also, but I, for me personally, I prefer to just be social media optional, which basically means that I can show up on social media when I want to.
Same,
Um,
same.
and not, and it's just fun that way. And it feels more, and I'm not saying I just show up in like, or I'm like, and not strategic. I'm very strategic on social when I am there, but I don't have to be there. And if a month goes by and I haven't done anything really on social, it's okay. It's not like a big deal. I'm still, thriving.
Yeah,
Um, there's a different, like a new brand of that too, which we can talk about next week because I've been experimenting with doing some different kinds of delegating too on social. So we can talk about that too. But I think we might have a topic on that coming up too in delegating social.
we might. I remember us talking about it, and I actually just sent Sarah a message. Well, I drafted it. I don't know that I actually hit send on whether or not she would help me with my Riverside stuff, like getting content uploaded into Riverside and like starting the process of
Oh,
like cutting it for me.
oh,
And
to
then,
create social media content. Oh,
yeah,
okay. Gotcha.
yeah, because I really want to do that this year. I really want to take this long form content I'm already using.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
I'm all about that, leveraging
I
it.
think our friend over at Perennial Content would be very dismayed if she knew that I created all this long form content and
Emma,
never,
Emma.
hardly ever repurposed it.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So yeah, let's talk about that next week and
Okay.
leave your questions in the chat. We'll update the video description with some additional links, Jana's blog if you want to read it, and
The pin bot.
yep, the Pinbot amongst other things. So make sure you check out the description and we'll see you guys here back next week.
Okay.
We're out.
Great.